All right. Good morning again. So I hope you have the time to reflect on your gratitudes and also set your intentions for today as well as for the weekend and beyond. So good morning, gang. I am excited. It's good to be with you this morning. I've got an exciting message to share with you. It's one of my favorite topics. Really want to talk about momentum and the compound effect. I looked up the word momentum this morning, and what it speaks to specifically is the energy of a moving body. So any body that becomes in motion, any static body that becomes in motion, that momentum is referred to as energy. It's the dynamic nature of that once static body. And so the greater the force that is put into that object, the greater the momentum. So the greater the energy, the greater the momentum. And here's the thing about it. It works for and against you. And we all know this. We've seen this in our own lives. I'll give you a great example. When I was younger, I weighed considerably more. And it wasn't muscle weight. It was fat. I was over 60 pounds heavier than I am today. I was a big boy. And I was in my 20s. But it didn't happen over too long of a period of time. I really was into Wendy's hamburgers and shakes and fries. And if you think about it, if you have a hamburger and fries and a shake, say once a month or every couple of weeks, really the net effect of that is just pleasure. I mean, really, because we can get away with eating a burger once in a while, every couple of weeks or once a month, with the fries and the shake, with all the, as the French say, the accoutrement. We could even add a biggie size request to that order. But if you do that every single day, it leads to something more than pleasure. What it ends up leading to is extra weight, as in my case. And then the extra weight leads to, could lead to diabetes, could lead to high blood pressure, could lead to high cholesterol, which could lead to a stroke, or the #1 cause of death in the United States, which is heart attack or heart disease. See, this idea of the compound effect and momentum can work for you or against you. I'll give you a great example of that. See, the against you is the burger, for example, and eating a burger every single day with all the accoutrement, with the burgers and the fries, and you biggie size it. And at the end of a period of time, maybe not after a week or a month or even 6 months, you're not going to die of a heart attack, but you're certainly going to start to gain weight. And if you do that for years, you're going to end up with all sorts of massive physical health problems. See, that's how it can work against you. I'll give you an example of how it can work for you. Many of you have probably heard of this example, but if I came to you and said, look, I want to give you a check for $3 million. And then I'm going to give you the choice of, instead of a check for $3 million, I'm going to give you a penny a day over 30 days. But every day, the amount that I give you will double. So if I give you a penny today, then tomorrow I'm going to give you 2 pennies. And the next day I'm going to give you 4. And the next day I'm going to give you 8. Which one would you choose? Well, the answer is obvious. Otherwise, I wouldn't be asking the question. You probably should choose to take the penny being doubled every single day. But here's what is interesting. And I want you to remember this as it relates to your business. Because just because we put the hard work in today and tomorrow doesn't mean that we're going to get the results that we want. And the same can be true conversely, where it works against you. Just because I eat a hamburger today and tomorrow doesn't mean that I'm going to eat or I'm going to gain a ton of weight. I have to engage in that activity over and over and over and over again. So if I gave you a penny today and 2 tomorrow and 4 the next day and then 8 the next day, by the 19th day, you would still only have $5,200, $5,200. So not very much. Now remember, I offered you $3 million cash or a check right up front. Just take that versus the penny a day doubled for 30 days. But what is interesting is by the end of that process, by the end of the 30 days, the $3 million that you would have taken is dwarfed by the penny being doubled, given to you and doubled every single day by the end of that period, to an amount of over $9 million. Now, over $9 million. That is the beauty of the compound effect. That is the beauty of momentum. And again, I want to remind you that that applies to everything that we do, good and bad. So as you take a look at your life and you look at the things in your life that you don't like, whether it's in your relationships, it's with your health, or with your business, if there are things that you don't like, I promise you that the compound effect and momentum are working against you, because there are things in those areas that fundamentally you're doing consistently wrong for periods of time that compound, that create much greater headache and tumult and disappointment than you otherwise would if you just did it once in a while. Or if you replaced those bad habits, those bad things, with good habits and did that over an extended period of time. It's pretty simple. Now, I know we all get this. The real question isn't, is momentum a good thing, right? But how do you do it? See, the bottom line is that we all have the ability to create momentum, but we have to know how to do it. We have to engage in specific activities in order to create that momentum. So there are 5 things here that I want to share with you that I believe that if we do these things, we can create momentum and take advantage of the compound effect. The first thing is this, that we've got to get into a powerful mindset. Above all else, it starts with the way in which we think every single moment of every single day. One of my favorite phrases that I repeat, it's my constant refrain: whether you think you can't or think you can't, either way, you are going to be correct. See, the fact is that if you believe that you can't, you won't. And the problem is, for most people, they go through every day thinking about how they can't, as opposed to focusing on how they can. So one of the things that we have to do is make certain we get in the right frame of mind to get into a powerful, not just a good, but I mean a powerful frame of mind. The frame of mind that you would have to, for example, put a man on the moon, or the powerful frame of mind that you would have to build the flying machine, to create the airplane, or the powerful mindset you'd have to conquer Mount Everest. And we all know those stories. But see, that's what we have to have. We have to have the belief that we can actually do what it is that we say that we want, or we never end up doing the activities, engaging in the activities. So how do we get into a powerful mindset? Well, one of the most core components, and one of the things that I have worked on, I didn't look at it as this when I started in high school, but I've since come to discover that what I was doing in high school was meditation. When I was in high school, I started to work on self-hypnosis. I read some books, articles on self-hypnosis, and then ended up getting some audio cassettes on how to, actually it wasn't audio cassettes, it was a vinyl. For those of you who are millennials, vinyl was a round, like dish platter thing that was made out of plastic vinyl. I'm just kidding. Or not, maybe you don't know what it is. But I started listening to this guy called Vandermeed, and Vandermeed taught me how really to meditate, how to breathe, how to relax, and how to get focused. So one of the first things that we have to do, ladies and gentlemen, in order to take advantage of and build momentum in our daily lives, is to really get focused, to get into a powerful state of mind. You know, one of the things that we do every morning here at Morning Ascent is to get focused, where we set our intentions and list our goals and our gratitudes. And if you notice the music that Russ was playing, that music is about setting the right energy so that you become present, that you begin to focus specifically on the here and now. Because see, here's the truth. Tomorrow is gone, yesterday is gone, and tomorrow is not promised to anybody. The only thing that we really have is the here and now. And so many people spend their time either in yesterday or worried about tomorrow, never ever giving themselves the opportunity to leverage the momentum and the compound effect that can be put into place today. And momentum and the compound effect really don't look like anything but one simple step every single day. 1 penny today, 2 tomorrow, 4 the next day. See, most people miss that. And what they do is they look at the future and all the work, and they see this daunting task, and therefore they give up. In other words, they have a poor mindset. See, that's not going to work. If we're going to take advantage of momentum and the compound effect, we have to start by having a powerful state of mind. So again, taking the time to meditate, to breathe, to relax, and to get focused, to really make certain that mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually, we are here and in the present. It's very critical. Do not underestimate the importance of this. Over 80%, at least over 80% of Olympic athletes and professional athletes, when polled, will say that they consistently, multiple times a day, meditate. The average person doesn't even understand what meditation means. They think they do, but they don't. They never do it. And as a result, see, the average person lives an ordinary life. But those athletes, those Olympic athletes, those professional athletes, or the highest paid people in the world who are the most productive in all areas of their lives, those are the people who live in the present, in the here and now. Those are the people who get focused, who relax, who breathe, who are present. It's absolutely critical. The second thing that I want to share with you is this. We've got to see the end results. You have to see the end results. See, if you're going to build momentum, in other words, you're going to do things consistently day after day. See, if you don't contribute 1 penny today, 2 tomorrow, 4 the next, that you're not going to have the compound effect. It's not going to work. So we have to do what it takes every single day in order to make it happen. But the only way we're going to do it every single day is to see the end results. See, it's the motivation. It's what we rely upon. And this ends up happening subconsciously. I'm going to give you a great example of this. When I was a kid, 13 years old, those of you who are old enough, you'll remember this. There was a show called The Lifestyle of the Rich and Famous, and it was hosted by Robin Leach. He was this, I think he was British, maybe even Australian, but I'm fairly certain he was British. A British man who hosted this weekly show about how the wealthy lived, where they lived, where they traveled, how they traveled, their luxury items, just all the things that they were able to do because they were wealthy. The lifestyles of the rich and the famous. And I watched that and I thought, man, I want to do that. I want to be that. I want to have those things. Now, back in the day, they were called mansions. I don't know what we call them now, estates or whatever, or just big homes. But this word, I just remember, it was like an 80s word, kind of like awesome was, the mansions. And I set this intention as a kid. I wanted to live in a mansion. And I got so into it that I started to draw out or sketch out what the home looked like on the exterior, but then also on the interior. I had this plan that I had drawn out that was on an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. Had the exterior on one side and then the interior on the other. Now, I put that into a box where I kept all the things that were important to me, like the mementos. Now, I don't know what ultimately happened to that floor plan that I had sketched at the age of 13. I don't know. But here's what is interesting. In 2006, I sold a home in Draper, for those of you in Utah. It was up by the LDS Temple, the newly built LDS Temple. And I decided I was going to build a home in Park City. And I sketched out this home, interior and exterior, and then I gave that sketch to a certified, capable architect who did what needed to be done in order for a builder and contractors to look at and actually build it to make it happen. Well, by the time the home was built and I got into the home, I stood there and I looked, and what I realized was the home that I had created. I didn't know this until this point when I stood in the home and I looked at this big expansive entrance of this home that was 8,400 square feet. I looked at it and it dawned on me at the age of, I guess I was, what, a decade, 12, 13 years ago. So I was about 42 years old, I guess. No, oh my heavens. No, I was 39. I was 39 years old. 39 years old. So what is that? The math. 26 years later, what I realized was the home that I had sketched as a 13-year-old and had forgotten about consciously had been built by me 26 years later. The home that I built in Park City was that home that I had sketched when I was 13 years old. And I tell you, I promise this, I say this genuinely, I did not recognize that until the home was built. What was so powerful is that I had set the intention years before and had seen it. I knew what that home looked like. I mean, think about this. If somebody said that they wanted to build a house and you asked them where, and they said, well, I don't know yet, I haven't decided. And you ask them, well, how big do you want it to be? Well, I don't know. I mean, probably somewhere around 6,000 square feet. I don't know quite yet. And then you ask them, well, what style do you want? Well, I don't know. I mean, there's so many different styles. There's the prairie style, there's the empire style, there's Cape Cod style, there's the cottage style. I don't know. I'm really trying to decide that. Well, when would you like to build it? Well, that's the thing. I just don't know. I mean, I've got so many things I got to take care of before that happens, but I know I want to build it. Versus this. Somebody says, do you know what? I want to build a house. You say, oh, really? Where are you going to build it? Oh, I'm going to build it in Park City. Really? Yeah. Well, when are you going to build it? Well, I'm going to start construction on it next June. I've got some things that I've got to do in terms of design. Got to make certain I've got the lot secured and go through the permitting process. Oh, okay. Well, what kind of house is it? Well, it's a mountain contemporary house. It's going to have cedar wood exterior. All of the metal on the home on the exterior is going to be copper. There will be no aluminum, no steel. It's going to be all copper. Well, that's fantastic. Sounds like a great house. Well, it doesn't stop there. I mean, you go on the interior, and you're going to see this big, expansive entryway with a double staircase. The home's going to have 7 fireplaces. It's going to have a master suite that's 1,300 square feet. And the person goes on and describes it to the point that as they're describing it, they are literally mentally walking you through that if you don't pay attention, you could bump your arm on something in the home that it's so graphic and clear that the home they're going to build. See, when I say that you need to see the end results, you need to see the end results. You have got to get clear about what it is that you want. And most people, ladies and gentlemen, do not underestimate this. Most people are not clear on what they want. See, most people are wandering generalities. Most people have no clue what they want, except for this, to just get by, to just survive, to get up in the morning, to eat some breakfast, if they even do that, punch in, do some work towards lunch, eat their lunch, go back to the office, punch out, get home, turn on the TV, eat some dinner, decompress, go to bed, and do it all over again. Just simply to pay the bills, to simply survive, to maybe someday go on a vacation, or maybe someday to have this thing or that thing. See, that's what a wandering generality does. What I want you to be, what I want us all to be, is a meaningful specific. Meaningful specific, being very clear about what it is that we want. When do we want it? Why do we want it? What is it going to take to get it? What are the obstacles that are going to get in the way? What are the solutions to those challenges? And what is the plan on a daily basis? What is the plan on a daily basis in order to make it happen? See, if we do that, if we're clear about all of those things, I promise you, your chances of success go up exponentially. In fact, I believe that I don't care who you are, what your shortcomings are, what your hangups are, what your shortfalls are, what your inhibitions are, your sex, your race, your creed, your color, your religion, any of those things, none of those things matter. That if you will be clear about what you want and why you want it and when you're going to get it and what the challenges are and what the solutions are, and you put together a plan and you execute upon that, I promise you, you will get it. Now, for some of you, you're going to get it sooner. For some of you, you're going to get it later. But I promise you, if you stick with it, you will get it. See, that's what we have to do to build momentum. That's what we have to do to take advantage of the compound effect, is we have to see it. We have to be clear. Don't be a wandering generality. Someday I want to go, or someday I want to do. No, when? When are you going to do it? For example, today. Today is the opportunity to set your intention, even if it is for something you're going to do just today. Just set the intention for what you're going to do today. And then maybe work on tomorrow, and a month from now, and a year from now. See the end results. Remember, the good book says The people without a vision will perish. Well, so will your dreams, and so will the life that you want to live. So will your sense of comfort and mental well-being if you do not have a sense of the future and hope for the future. The next thing, the third thing that I want to talk about is this. If we're going to have momentum, or we're going to take advantage of the compound effect, we have got to be grateful. Now, I know you hear me talk about this all the time, George and all the other leaders in this company, but the reason we talk about it so much is because it is critical. It's critical. If you don't find yourself grateful more often than not, it will not work. You will find yourself like the average person who complains, who looks for people to commiserate with them about how difficult things are, looking for people who are not going to confront them on a bad attitude and pointing a finger of blame on all the reasons why they don't have what it is that they want, as opposed to simply taking a step back and really taking an assessment and reconciling and saying, you know what, I have so many things in life to be grateful for. I may not have everything that I hope for, but man, I am content with what I have. I'm content, but I am ambitious. I am so grateful for all the blessings that I have. I am content that I have children and that they are amazing. I am content that I have a loving and amazing spouse. I am content that I have my health. See, and if those things don't exist for you in your life, you say, well, John, those things in my life aren't perfect. They're not what I want. Then find the things that are. Because I promise you, there are things that you and I can always be grateful for. See, most people are very skilled at finding all the reasons why to be ungrateful, to be angry, to be sad, to lack confidence. See, the extraordinary person is skilled at always finding the reasons to be grateful and building on that. Look, ladies and gentlemen, there are two primary human emotions. There is love and there is fear. When you find yourself operating from a basis of gratitude, you operate from a basis of love. But when you ignore your gratitudes and you focus on the challenges and the pain in your life, you become motivated by fear. Pure and simple. You become motivated by fear. And so many people do that. In fact, you and I at times will find ourselves doing that. We have to be vigilant. We have to work on it daily, daily. It is a daily battle. Look, think about it. You have a choice of being chased by your fears or pulled by the things that you want, by the things that you have, basically by the love in your life. See, the challenge is most people are driven by their fears. It's like, here's a great example. Imagine that we were in the forest and we were walking down this beautiful trail, taking in all of the beautiful scenery. The trees, the rustling of the leaves, the birds, the stream, the sunshine coming through the branches and leaves of the trees, providing just gentle warmth. Imagine that. And then all of a sudden, out comes this huge grizzly bear, 4 square, right there in front of us on the trail. What are you going to do? Well, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to push you down and I'm going to run the opposite direction because all I have to do is outrun you. But no, seriously, what am I going to do? What are we going to do? See, most people, when they're confronted by a grizzly bear, what do? I know what they say you're supposed to do. You're supposed to lay down and pretend like you're dead. I believe that playbook was written by a bunch of bears. I'm going to run. I am programmed instinctually to run. That is what I'm going to do. I'm going to run. And here's the thing. I don't care where I end up as long as I end up away from the what? From the bear. As long as I run away from the bear, I don't care where I end up, even if it is 100 miles opposite direction where I wanted to be. Regardless of the peril, I'm going to run a different direction just so I can get away from that bear. See, most people live their lives that way. People forget the things that they're grateful for. They focus on their fears. In other words, they have a poor mental state. And they are driven by their fears, and they do exactly the opposite of what they should do. And therefore, they never, ever unlock the potential that is within them to live the life that they say that they want. See, I think for most of us, we know what life we want. The challenge is we never give ourselves the opportunity to believe that we can do it. If you want to start to believe that you can do it, start with what you have to be grateful for, because you get to build upon that foundation. that becomes the springboard for all the other things that we need to do in order to be successful. See, in order to do the things we've never done before, we're going to have a sense of confidence that we can do it. It starts by being grateful. Remember, everything that you want in this life is going to be outside of your comfort zone. So start with the known and what you can be grateful for and build from there. The fourth thing is this, and this is critical. Most people are programmed to do the opposite of this. Man, and I hope you're taking notes. If you are, write this down. Stop focusing on the how. Stop focusing on the how. See, most people focus on the how, and therefore they never focus on the do. Let me repeat that. See, most people focus on the how and never focus on the do. In other words, they are like that deer caught in headlights. They become frozen, static. And the deer that gets caught in headlights gets hit by the Mack truck and is demolished. Don't do that. See, we've got to focus on not the how, but the do. Let me guarantee you, Thomas Edison, he didn't know how. Can I prove that to you? Let me prove it to you. The reason I know that Thomas Edison didn't know how is because he had to invent over 1,000 versions of the incandescent light bulb before it worked. Over 1,000. Now, if he knew how, don't you think he would have done it the first time? Or maybe the second or the third or the 10th? Or, okay, maybe the 100th time, but 1,000 times? It proves to us that he didn't know how. But what he focused on was the do. Remember that. Focus on the do. When John F. Kennedy stood there at Rice University and said, we are going to put a man on the moon within the decade, the United States did not know how. NASA did not know how. What John Kennedy said was, let's focus on the do. When he announced that we were going to put a man on the moon within the decade, most people in the United States and the world laughed and scoffed and said it's not possible because we couldn't even put successfully a satellite into orbit. And yet John Kennedy was saying we were going to put a man on the moon. And he met with advisors and people at NASA, experts, who said, Mr. President, we don't have the ability to do that. And he said, wait a minute, stop. What's the goal? Well, we want to put a man on the moon. Yes. And what's preventing us from doing that? And experts said, well, we don't have a rocket that is powerful enough. Okay, so we know we have to build a rocket powerful enough. Why don't we have a rocket powerful enough? Well, we haven't invented the type of fuel that's necessary that would be contained within a structure that's the size that we would need to in terms of physics and so forth to get us out of the gravitational pull of Earth. He said, okay, what else? And he went through question after question of what we wanted and what the challenges were. And then once they had that conversation, he got up and he started to walk out and people were wondering where he's going. He said, at this point, now you know what you have to do. Now you know what you have to do. He didn't say, now you know how. He said, now you know what you have to do. And that's exactly what NASA did and the other experts did. They went out and started to focus on the do. They started with what they knew, what they were grateful for, the knowledge that they had, and they built upon that. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the way we have to approach our lives and our days, every single day. Stop focusing on the how and start focusing on the do. The final thing is this. Have a schedule. It is so critical that we have a schedule. I talked about early on in this conversation this morning about momentum. Let me give you a great example. If there were a train on a set of tracks and it is stationary, but we fire up the engine and we put some blocks in front of the drive wheels of that engine. Blocks that are, say 12 inches by 14 inches, these wood blocks in front of the drive wheels. And we power up that train and we throttle forward. That train isn't going to go anywhere because it has so much weight, and that even the slightest impediment to the forward momentum of those drive wheels will prevent that train from moving forward. It's very interesting. And yet, if we were to take that train, remove those blocks, power it up, throttle forward, and get it going down the track for a mile or so, going 70 miles an hour, and then down that track, farther down the track, having a concrete wall that's been reinforced with steel, with rebar, that's 5 feet thick, and we ram that wall with that freight train, that train will blast through that wall. It will blast through the wall. Whereas before, it couldn't even move forward because of those blocks. The things that I've talked about this morning, getting into a powerful state of mind, seeing the end results, having a vision of what it is that you want with great clarity, being grateful, operating from a position of love, not of fear, and focusing not on the how, but on the do, and then setting a schedule of the basic, simple steps that we have to take today. See, we don't have to put a man on the moon today. You're not looking to close 20, 30, or 40 transactions today or this week or this month, unless that's what your goal is. But how do you eat an elephant? You eat an elephant one bite at a time, not in one day. Remember that. Set a schedule that is really a microcosm of the goals that you have, those baby steps, the one simple step that you take today, that penny that you contribute today, the 2 pennies that you contribute tomorrow, the 4 the next, 8 the next. And the amazing thing is that over a relatively short period of time, everything that you say that you want, you will look back and say, man, I can't believe it. I've accomplished it. See, that waits for you if you will leverage the compound effect. That waits for you if you will leverage momentum. But here is the catch. This is the catch. This is the linchpin to all of this. Pay attention to this. This is critical. It is the linchpin. It is the crux. It is critical. You must be consistent. Remember what I said, eat a hamburger every day for a month, the compound effect will work against you. Get a penny today, 2 tomorrow, 4 the next, 8 the next. You do that consistently, it will work for you. Leverage it. It's not written anywhere that the compound effect won't work for you. You have to start working for it. You have to pay attention to it. And if you do, it will work. Having said that, let me give you 2 recommendations. There are 2 great books that I would recommend that you read that are critical to this conversation. Number 1, it's called simply The Compound Effect. It's written by Darren Hardy. The Compound Effect, written by Darren Hardy. It's a great book that talks about the compound effect, but it's also very motivating because when you read it, you see how simple and powerful it is. And man, you're going to want to go out and do these things that we've talked about today. And then the second one is Eat That Frog. Eat That Frog, written by Brian Tracy. The reason I want you to read that book, or if you've read it, reread it, is because that book talks about the importance of prioritizing. It doesn't talk about time management. It talks about identifying your key core activities and prioritizing, making certain that you do the highest impact things first, and then maybe eventually get to the low impact things if you ever do. So I hope this has been a very beneficial and powerful message for you. I've enjoyed it. These principles I share with you, not because I have them perfected, but because I try to keep them top of mind, to always work on what it is that I want, and obviously to help you as well and to inspire you. So take these things, spend some time figuring these things out, and put these things into place today, so moving forward you can leverage momentum and the compound effect. So I hope you have a great day. I hope you have a great week. And if we don't see you between now and Friday, we'll certainly see you next week. Have a great day.